In 2011, we ducked off TN52 into Four Cross Cave, past the closed October to March sign. Tennessee hides over 10,000 mapped caves. Folks call it the underground state. In the chamber, locals call the cross splits 4 ways. In Tunnel 4, our initials were already on the wall, and the ceiling started drip, drip, drip. 3 years after Jackson left town, we went back in. Only one of us came out. This is my, Mason Hale's, only confession of what happened when we ignored every warning. I didn't know the world beyond my town. Unlike my best friend, Jackson, I never left. We were inseparable growing up. Time filled by spooking each other in the cave tunnels and playing on our Game Boys until our eyes went square. As a kid, I thought I'd never grow old, and that loop of youth and having my best friend by my side would last forever. Turns out, Jackson didn't want to stay in town with me forever. He wanted to grow up. At 18, he left for college. The last day before he left, we went out to the caves on the outskirts of town, Four Cross Caves. I don't know if this was their official name, but this was what everyone in town knew them as. We parked by the old quarry turn-in off TN52 and walked the last quarter mile, our sneakers slipping on wet leaves. The cave air hit cold and ammoniac, that bat guano sting you feel in the back of your nose. Thinking back, Jackson was just trying to be nice. We had a lot of fun times in those caves as kids, but back then I was so mad that he was leaving me that I stormed off without even going inside. In the main cavern, it broke off into 4 crooked tunnels. Everyone knew not to go in the 4th one along the killer cave. The stories went that anyone who went in there didn't come back. As kids, we knew better than to go in it, out of fear more than anything else. Jackson left the same day without a proper goodbye, and for 3 years I barely saw him. He moved on with his life, and I remained behind. I guess I yearned for him. For the Jackson from the past, my best buddy. When he messaged me saying that he was back in town for a couple of nights and asking if I wanted to meet up at the diner, I immediately said yes. I even wore my faded game slogan t-shirt that he'd given me for my birthday before he left. We met at Henderson's on Court Avenue, same cracked vinyl booth, same bell over the door. I thought our friendship would slot into place, but as I sat opposite him in the diner, I soon realized he changed, while I still remained the same. He looked different, his hair neatly swept back in comparison to my unruly mop. I ordered a pancake tower as always. He ordered the chicken steak and a black coffee. The conversation didn't flow naturally. Jackson talked about graduating college and how he had an apprenticeship for some big shot law firm in Chicago. All I could talk about was the past, clutching onto former stories when I felt like I no longer knew the stranger in front of me. Dumb, I know. People change. Jackson had changed. I ate more slowly to try and fill the awkwardness. I spilled syrup on my shirt and, embarrassed, compared it to the time he puked on himself at prom. I thought he'd be mad, but instead he laughed. We started hashing out all of these memories. Then he grabbed a forkful of my pancakes, chewed on it, then said, "Hey Mace, do you remember when you stepped into the killer cave and almost shit yourself?" I did shit myself, I laughed. I was 9, so give me a break. And I didn't step inside the tunnel. I placed my hand on the side, swore I heard something, freaked out, and ran. He grinned at this, and I thought I'd awoken something in him, a stirring of the old Jackson, He placed $40 under the napkin dispenser, then waved me out of there, saying he had just enough time left to visit an old haunt. On the short drive to Four Cross Caves, we talked about the times as kids we played tag in them, learning the twists and turns of the 3 tunnels off by heart. We parked up and walked up the dirt road to the cave entrance, pushing back the overgrown vines and branches to get inside. It sure felt like no one had been in there in a while, but Jackson made some comment about the place never changing. He was right. There was a warm familiarity to it, even though I couldn't help but shiver. At the mouth, my phone showed 1 bar of AT&T and 27%. Inside, that dropped to nothing fast. Jackson smirked, lifted his phone, and said he had enough for a light. He tapped my arm, said tag, then ran off toward the first tunnel. I chased after him, thinking this was it. I'd got my friend back. We goofed around like that for a while, exploring the first 3 caves like we were kids again. The bends felt tighter, and we knocked our heads a couple of times on the limestone overhang. Watch the popcorn, he said, pointing at fragile soda straws and flowstone like we still knew the names. Time had made us grow and slowed us down, but being back there meant that for the first time in a long time, I felt alive. We rested on the sloped rock wall in the main section of the cave and caught our breaths. I followed his gaze and saw what he was staring at. The 4th tunnel. A pit of darkness in the corner. Hey Mace, why is everyone so scared of that tunnel anyway? He said as he walked over to it and stared inside. It's just a load of old rocks. Maybe there's some big secret down there that past folk are selfishly keeping to themselves. What, like a treasure trove? I let out a nervous laugh as I followed him. It's the killer cave. We all know that. Somebody years back had sprayed a faint orange 4 on the wall near its mouth. The paint was almost gone, under gray. He said something about it being time we see for ourselves. I thought he was joking. No one sane went into the 4th tunnel. But then he put his phone flashlight on, holding it beneath his chin as he gave his demonic grin and aimed the light at the tunnel. Come on, Mace. Let's embrace the fear. And then we can go to Dinky's and have a celebratory beer. Does Belinda still work there? Are her lips still ready to go? He winked as he mimicked her naturally plump pout. I noticed the twinkle in his eye and didn't have the heart to tell him that Dinky's bar shut last year. I should have told him that going into the 4th tunnel was a bad idea. He'd come back, he'd humored me, but he had a new life in the city. I should have made him leave right then. Instead, despite everything, as he stepped into the 4th tunnel, I followed him. The warmth of the caves instantly faded, and a chill tickled my skin. We took maybe 60 yards of uneven rock, a left bend that killed what little light bled from the chamber, and the ceiling dropped low enough to make us hunch. I thought that'd be it. He'd proved his point that we could leave. But he kept on walking deeper into that creepy place where everything felt too still. Hey Mace, come look at this. He called me over as he aimed his flashlight at the wall. I didn't want to follow him. I'd stepped into something that didn't feel right, and every ounce of me wanted to leave. Instead, my need to hold onto our friendship meant I moved toward him, rubbing my hand along the cracked surface to guide me as I followed his light. My phone battery had died hours ago. Jackson's meager flashlight was all we had. On reaching him, he'd shown the flashlight on the wall to show me something. There, carved into the wall, most probably with a sharp rock, were 2 sets of initials, JD and MH. Our initials. I felt a sense of dread as I stared at them. It didn't make any sense that they were there. We'd never been in this tunnel before. I accused him of doing it and started freaking out. He got annoyed at me as he told me he hadn't. He said it must be a coincidence, but this proved that other people had been in this tunnel, that the whole killer cave myth was made up bullshit. We fell silent, the flashlight flickering around us, emphasizing those carved letters that linked us to that place. That's when we heard it, coming from above us. A drip, drip, drip. The sound came exact, metronome clean, like it was choosing the gaps between our breaths. Something landed on me. It dripped down my face. I rubbed it off, swearing under my breath. Jackson was staring at me in oddness to his eyes. I looked at my hand and turned it in the gloomy light, not understanding the blot of red that stained it. I looked up, but as I did this, Jackson moved the flashlight away from me. Something dripped in my eye. I swore again and furiously blinked. To my horror, he was walking further into the tunnel, muttering how he was going to find the jerks that were messing with us. He said something about this being like the time in Pokemon Red when I missed out the task to find TM Flash, but somehow managed to find my way through the rock tunnel anyway. My eye stung, so I placed one hand over it and felt around with the other. I couldn't see a thing, and unlike the others, this tunnel was unfamiliar to me. I called out to him as I paused there, questioning if I should turn around and leave. I think I was going to, but then I heard the scream. It seemed to bounce off the walls and vibrate around me. I told myself he was messing with me, but I knew he wasn't. That scream was too raw to be fake. I had a choice. I could fumble my way out of there, or I could walk blindly into the tunnel and find my friend. I would be lying if I said I bravely went after him. I was disoriented. I'm not even sure I knew which way I was going. I kept on moving, worried that if I didn't, I would freeze up. All I heard while I moved was the drip, drip, drip above me. A splash landed in my mouth. I spat out the sweetly metallic taste as I carried on. Iron, like a penny held too long on your tongue. Around the corner, I saw a flickering light. Desperate to reach it, I hurried forward, my feet catching on the uneven ground. The shaky light became vivid all at once. Jackson lay on his front on the ground. His face was covered in blood, a look of pure horror on his face as he looked at me in silence. I was about to speak, but there was something about his look that stopped me. I knelt by him. I tried to make sense of what was going on. He took my hands, placing something in one of them as he whispered in my ear, "Go." Drip, drip, drip. I was holding his phone. I had the light. I heard a swishing sound and spun the light onto him. I saw something drag him by his feet, a shadow of swiftness. This mystery in the dark that chilled me to the bone. The beam hit Pale Soul's ankle twisting, then nothing but scuffed dust and a smear that led deeper. I didn't follow him. I didn't even think twice about it. I turned and I fled, bumping into the limestone trappings as I tried to get free. I shook Jackson's cell phone in my hand, causing the flashlight to jerk and shine. Drip, drip, drip. The light glowed upon the wall with our carved initials. Only something had changed. Slashed through the JD was a stroke of red. I smelled the sweetly metallic scent. It dripped along the wall. My initials were unchanged. The drip paused once, like it was listening, and then started again, slower. A silence returned, and I ran. My senses guided me out of that place and into the light. I just needed to get out of there. I didn't think about anything else. As I fell out of the tunnel, I cried in relief, but then dread filled me. Dread that I'd left Jackson in there. I looked at his phone in my hand, the flashlight still glaring. The screen cracked and coated in blood. I looked back at the fourth tunnel, hoping Jackson would appear any minute now. But despite this, he never did. Over a decade later, Mason Hales is still riddled with the guilt of losing his best friend. The local police department discovered Jackson Dozier's car close to the caves. The Fentress County Sheriff's Office logged the vehicle 200 yards off EN52 near the quarry pull-off. They state that at the time they searched all 4 tunnels thoroughly and found no signs of Jackson. Cave rescue volunteers say the main chamber and the first 3 runs were mapped to the choke stones. The 4th was marked unstable, do not enter. However, a member of the investigation who wishes to remain unnamed claims that only the first 3 tunnels were searched, and the 4th, the killer tunnel, was left untouched. By summer, the red paint had weathered off most walls in the cross. The carved initials stayed. Locals say on wet weeks the dripping comes back clean as a clock. It is unknown what lurks within the 4th tunnel, but as the 2 friends learn the hard way, warning stories all stem from somewhere and come with the severest of penalties for those who dare to ignore them. For more scary horror stories, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.